Hi everybody, Colin Stevenson here, joined today again with my sensei, John Lenhart. Hi John.
Hi.
Now today is my favourite subject in the whole world apart from love. So it's maybe joint first. And that's truth, John. Truth is what the world's missing on a large scale, and people are not listening to their own truth, they're not speaking their own truth, and then they're hiding from it. And while they're hiding from this, they're not being themselves, so they're living two lives, which is causing them to be unhappy, in my belief. So, can you tell us more about truth and your version of it, please? Because we've had conversations with other people through the other videos, and people look at our words differently than we do because we want it to be a neutral explanation.
Right. We want to get a non-contradictory explanation. Yeah. So the thing is truth is my absolute favorite topic to talk about because it is essentially the first cause. And the thing about truth is that we hear people talking about it all the time, but then when you ask them their definition, man, oh man, like this is probably the one definition that I never get an answer for. I get a lot of attacking and people might do a description or they'll say, oh, it's different for me, like the rationalization. But this is the one word that I think is the hardest one for everyone to describe, yet everybody uses it in all the ways you just said, living your truth and everything else. So truth, I want to step up into this. So a fact is a right what. I like to look at a fact as just a right what.
Yep.
Understanding is a right why. It's a right what with a right why. And I'll even say a principle is a right what with a right why. The difference is truth is a principle that always applies, regardless of the context. And so a principle is something that only applies in this case. The minute you change the context, well, it doesn't apply to that. Then that's not a truth. What we're talking about is capital T, absolute truth. It is the things that apply in every context. So the definition of it would be a right what with a right why and a right how. And the how is not how you do it, because that's really what you do. The how is the absolute explanation for how this thing works. My example about scurvy. Vitamin C is the truth to solving scurvy because it has the how. It's the thing our bodies are missing and it supplies it. There's many contexts to provide it in. If you're in the North Pole, then you got to eat organ meat. Yeah. So organ meat would solve scurvy, but organ meat is not the truth.
Yeah.
Vitamin C is the truth. It's the how. So truth is a right what with a right why and a right how.
Oh, right. Okay. So basically when people say they're telling the truth, it's circumstantial, right? And this is where, so people say, well, I'm living my truth, but that you've got to look at their lives. Well, the way that I do is I look at it. So I look at their relationship, I look at their working life, I look at their home life, how they speak and feel about themselves. Now, if they're telling the truth about how they feel about their work and how they work and they're doing a good job, that's one thing. If they're not being nice to themselves, kind to themselves, and allowing themselves to be themselves, they're not telling the truth at all in any situation. So when I go through the circumstances with them and I speak to them on different levels, my clients, friends, family, whatever, they find this very difficult because it is almost like an unconscious confrontation that we've spoken about several times. So I'll ask a question rather than say, I don't believe that's the truth, because that's very confrontational. And, and that'll allow them to put walls up. If I'm asking them, how does that make you feel? And do you believe that you're doing your best? Or when you start asking them these, they start to realize that they're not living their truth. Now, there's two reactions to this. I usually get complete silence, or I'll be met with some sort of confrontation, and this is because they've realized inside themselves that the truth is not there.
So you're covering like 3 dimensions with what you just said. So I am going to just slow this way down and take 1 dimension. And over the next 2 videos, we're going to build up to everything you just said. Everything you said was dead on. But I can only handle 1 dimension of this right now. So let's handle the first dimension of this. Is a lot of people use the word truth when they mean fact. So when I ask you a question and you give me an answer and I don't believe that's a fact, I say that's not the truth. Really, I should say that's not a fact, because a lie is a wrong what. The problem is I can tell a fact and it not be truth. And this is where I like to really show people the power of having the right definition for truth. What's the definition of deception? And what I say to people is the definition of deception is a right what? It's a fact with a wrong or no how or why. So see, you're not going to be deceived if I say the sun went away and it's never coming back. But if I say a right what without a how and why, that's how deception works. So a lot of people use the word truth when they mean fact, and it would really clear up their brain, and it would really clear up their interaction with their unconscious, which I'll talk about in a second, if they use the right word. So the example I like to use is in these teen dramas. In all of these teen dramas, there's at least one character, usually more, but one character who's the deceiver. And what the deceiver does is they come up to the main character and they'll say to her, hey, your boyfriend and your best friend just came out of that back room. And it's a right what? They did. They just walked out of the back room and she could see that. And then they stare at her. They don't give the how and the why. They let her come up with the how and why. And she sits and goes, oh, that he's having an affair on me. They were making out. And now she supplied her own how and why for a right what. It was a right what. They came out of the back room together. And she's now going this direction in her strength, taking herself away from the truth. At the end of the episode, what do we find out? Her boyfriend and her best friend were planning her surprise birthday party. And so it's like, oh, hilarity ensues or whatever. And it's like, that's what deception is we get deceived by hearing a right what, and then we supply our own how and why, and then we go, but she did come out of the back room. He did come out of the back room with her. Yes, he did, but what's the how and the why? And this is so important. One of the things I do is I help people defend their thought process and have a healthy thought process by telling them, don't focus on the what. Focus on the how and the why. I don't care what you say. I want to know why you say it, and then I want the explanation down to the how, because that is where you're going to throw me off.
Yeah. Now, we know that I do certain kind of practices with my readings and things like that for people when they come in. Now, it comes up for me regularly that people, if they're told, if they're given half a story, they make the other half of the story up. Now, in terms of the what, the how, and the why, I have never been able to put it into this type of context before. But when I say to somebody, if you get half of a story, you will make the rest of the story up. This causes you anxious thoughts and feelings. This causes you upset and tension. And then what you do is you act on not knowing. Well, it's obviously the what and the how and the why. But I didn't know that. So obviously I explain this. And obviously you and I don't kind of go anywhere with these conversations. They just flow. So when I'm saying this to these people, it's exactly what you're talking about. They'll take what's been said and then they will make the rest of the story up in their head. And this is what causes the adverse effects within their body and their brain.
Right. So you just led me right into this point. So here's what happens is when you get a right what with a wrong how and why, you say they told a half truth. Yeah. They didn't tell a half truth. There is no such thing as a half truth. Truth is self-evident. Truth is whole. So the minute you say half truth, you're deceiving yourself. And what you're really deceiving is you're trying to deceive your unconscious brain, which you cannot do. So this is where you and I connected, Colin. And this is where what you're doing when you help people, this is really the connection here is we've said 10% of our brain is conscious. 90% of our brain is unconscious. Our 90% of our brain is a supercomputer we will never recreate.
Yep.
All the computers that are being created are conscious brain computers. They're trying to represent that. Your unconscious brain can detect truth, capital T, truth. Your unconscious brain sorts through everything and it can identify truth. And it doesn't use words, it signals it to you through feelings. When you say half-truth, when you create a story that's wrong, when you believe something that's not fully right or use a wrong definition, your unconscious brain does not like that, and it gives you tension on the inside. It's trying to get your attention. It's doing all these things. And if you don't reconcile it with your conscious brain, it will only make it worse. And if you try to run the opposite way with your conscious brain, your unconscious brain will make so much tension, you will feel pain. So a lot of what you do, Colin, is you help people get back in touch with their unconscious brain.
Yeah. Now, I explain this to people if they take their conscious brain, which is one football player, and then the unconscious brain is 9 football players, and they expect the one football player to beat the 9, it's never going to be happening. But what they don't realize is they were beaten before they even started. So it's about getting them into understanding these feelings, to understand themselves. And people call it the gut instinct, the gut feeling, whatever way we want to call it, it all boils down to the same thing. And if they don't understand it, that their conscious brain is going to lose instantaneously, the struggle will keep going on. And this is why I believe people live a life of pain.
Right. And so what happens is we, your intuition, if you want to call it that, it's 100% accurate. Your processing of it it's like you got to go with it, or what happens is that you start overthinking it. And so a lot of times what I do to help people get in touch with their unconscious brain, so we call it putting words to feelings. What I'll say to people is, and I've seen this, especially I help guys do this with their wives, because women with the 5 thoughts, they are so conscious, they'll talk themselves. So a woman might have had a bad experience with her sister, and she could sit there and say, was I too mean to her? But you need to be mean to her. But I need to be that mean? But you know what? If I'm not, and she can sit there for the rest of her life. She can sit there between thoughts doing that. And so what I say to people is to say to her, I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you to answer it as quickly as possible. Yes or no, as quickly as possible. Were you mean to your sister? And it doesn't matter what she says. She just needs to say something, yes or no. Because the minute she says yes or no, her unconscious is going to make her, if she says the wrong answer, because her unconscious knows. If she says the wrong answer, her unconscious is going to hit her. If she says the right answer, her unconscious will relax. And then the next question is, does that settle you? The second question is the most important question. But you can't get to the second question until they state their will. But they never state their will. They think so much, they don't land. So you get them to land, and then you say, now, did that settle you? So when people say, follow your intuition, it always works. It's like, how do you do that? Because the more you think about it, the way you follow it is you state out loud what you want to do, and then you see if that settles you or not, because your unconscious responds. It's that justice monkey. It responds to the words you say. So that's the way people can get in touch with their unconscious brain. Instead, they think too much and they just cause everything to be worse.
Yeah. Now, when I talk about the intuition, and it's like you've got to act on it, I tell people to act on it rather than think about it, because your brain does lie to you. Your brain that's the conscious thinker. That is the one that's going to go through, will they be happy? Oh no, maybe they won't be happy. Will that work? No, that might not work. Maybe I'm not good enough. You've got to act. And when people say the hardest thing for them to do is act out what their gut feeling is, it's because they give it time to think and they allow the fear to come in. And this, again, it's very similar to what you just said there about the girl and her sister. It's like it's the fear of how the reaction is going to be the next time she sees her. Or, it's more to do with self-preservation. as opposed to what she's actually done to her sister. You know, it's like, is she going to fall out with me? Is she going to tell the family I was bad? Is she, and if she's compassionate, it might be that she doesn't want to harm her sister, you know, and she feels bad, but she knows that she's done the right thing. So it's so cool that you and I, and we spoke about this earlier on, about how we've kind of come together and of the knowing, but you've got the words and you've got the science and you've got the, and I've had the experience that's kind of brought me to allow you to give me the words. It's amazing. And that's where the truth comes in. We've got two different lives. We've got two different sets of intangible drivers, but we come together under truth.
Right. So the last thing I'll say to kind of make this point about the conscious brain is there's a word that it always kills me when I see this word in people's in the company's mission statement or whatever, or when people say they value it, honesty.
Oh.
What is honesty? Honesty is just a right what. And so I say, do you really want honesty? Do you really practice it? Because honesty is, and I look at them and I say, I think you're too short for this job. I think I'm just being honest. You wanted me to be honest, right? Now, do you go home and tell your spouse, are you honest to them? And all of a sudden they give you this look like what they're trying to say with honest was truth. But again, this is, they misunderstand fact and truth. So they value honesty because they're saying, don't lie. Well, then do you really want me to be honest? Do you really want to know all these facts? You really don't. And so one of the shortcut, you know, when I talk to those people in a professional environment, I go, boy, oh boy, you have the word honesty up there. You're a CEO. Anybody could walk in and tell you honestly, you know, the Wall Street Journal says you're an idiot. I'm just being honest. And you'll have to smile and say, thank you for being honest. Because that's one of your values in your company. So the shortcut, when I try to explain the difference between truth and honesty, I like to say truth is a fact, all right, what? That creates. All the creation is in the why and the how. So did this fact that someone say create? Did it make something more? Did it make something better? Or did it give you a lot more thoughts and take you down? So honesty, as opposed to lying, yeah, I get it. Honesty is great instead of lying. But honesty is a conscious brain. It's really saying, I don't want the conscious brain to do any damage. It's still not valuing the unconscious. And the unconscious does not like this word honest. It loves the word truth. And if you really value honesty, you need to smile when I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just touch on that last one before we go. The Invention of Lying by Ricky Gervais. Have you seen the film?
No.
Right. So the Invention of Lying was Ricky Gervais. No one knows what lying is yet. So everybody is brutally honest. And there's a part in the scene where he takes this girl out on a date and they're sitting across the table and the phone goes and she said, it's my mum. She knew I was dreading this date. Give me a second. And she answers the phone and he goes, yeah, cool. And she said, yes, he's a lovely guy. He's very funny, but he's too fat and his nose is funny. And it's like, but they're all being honest. But this is where you're talking about it's the truth. He didn't like it, but he accepted it. Most people ask for honesty are not willing to accept it because they feel hard done by it. And I totally understand where you're coming from in that statement. So hopefully moving forward, we will be doing another couple of episodes on truth. This will break it down even further for people so they can obviously come back and watch it. But thank you so much for your time today, John, and I look forward to speaking to you again later in the week. Take care.
Bye.